That guy.
Wait, gosh, is that?
That guy. It's me, Zach. Let's go explore Hollywood.
I sure am. Oh my God, is that Johnny Depp?
It is. Oh my God, is that Daniel Leg Day Lewis?
Is that John Travolta?
Oh my God, and look, Tom Blastin' Cruz.
Oh my God, Jeremy Renner.
No way. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Zach Telander YouTube channel. I hope you liked my massive collaboration with my good friend, Back Guy. Today we've got a juicy one. I asked my following on Instagram what their hot takes on weightlifting are, and I'm going to either argue for them or argue against them. By the way, if you haven't, check me out on Instagram, throw me a follow. That would be just dandy. So let's get into the hot takes. The first one comes from Trevor Kim, TKim10, and Trevor himself is a fantastic weightlifter. He's the type of guy who's looking to be on an international team for the United States. And his hot take is, we didn't get the world's bid because the IWF doesn't want USADA anywhere near their athletes. I agree with this. May or may not be the actual reason, but I would say it's in the IWF's best interest to not repeat what happened in Houston. So if you guys don't recall, in Houston, 24 out of the 200 athletes that were tested were popped. And I don't know, I think if we were to take B samples from those things, which maybe we did, more athletes would be popped. Now, I think that is one of the highest ratios of lifters who are sanctioned at a world championship meet ever. And it definitely doesn't look good for a sport that will likely not be in the Olympics. And we're trying to prove that we're being better to then come back to Worlds in the United States and have a repeat of that. So, that definitely could be a reason, but they would never admit to something like that. China isn't doping. They just work hard. Okay, this guy, Haid Dog, he sent another one saying JK LOL. It's pretty obvious that China is doping, but let's explore a little bit how that works. I have a couple theories. One of them, they're just incredibly successful with this clandestine, organization of doping.
Going dog.
And I think the main thing is that they have a lab where they can continually do testing on their athletes and determine half-lives of things and make sure that their doping protocol is in line so that they don't get popped. But also there's another little wild theory that Derek from More Plates, More Dates had talked about this in, I think, one of his podcasts, where there's possibility for synthesizing animal cholesterol to create testosterone rather than, I think it's like a Mexican yam or something where they synthesize testosterone. And I believe that they're able to weigh the atomic weight once they melt down. I think it's called the carbon isotope test. I could be wrong, but they're able to determine if there is exogenous testosterone in blood and urine based off of a bunch of different things. But if you are able to use animal cholesterol, it's essentially like you're just adding in human testosterone. It is completely and utterly undetectable. Now, I think it could be pretty likely that China and other countries are utilizing this, if it is in fact something that can be utilized. Imagine if this were the case where all you would have to look at is the testosterone versus epitestosterone. I think it's epitestosterone. That's the ratio that you need to be aware of when you blood test. As long as you keep track of those things, there's really no detection of the exogenous testosterone. So they would have free reign up into that upper limit of testosterone versus epitestosterone. Something that they could be doing, but, they have the least amount of sanctions for the most dominance in this sport. So they're doing something right. Noah Kimchi 55 says the clean and press should be brought back. This is a hard disagree from me. If you look at old videos of the clean and press, actually, let's go back to really old videos where we look at guys like Paul Anderson. This is where you would see the press, and it would look fantastic. Okay, there was a tiny bit of, English that he would put on the bar, but not much. And then you fast forward to the guys like Vasily Alexiev, who is an absolute monster, a legend in this sport, clean and pressing over 500 pounds for the first time. This is when you see guys really heave and hoe the bar up. And this is essentially why we got rid of the movement in the first place. It was too much of a subjective call from the judges. We wouldn't be able to tell if it was strict. It was hard to determine the difference between a jerk or some sort of a push press or some sort of press. So that's why we got rid of it. And to be honest, it would not work to be brought back in. Josh D. Elliott says CrossFit has done more for Olympic weightlifting in the last 10 years than weightlifting has. I don't think this is a hot take. I think this is pretty common knowledge. I think in the States and probably a lot of places abroad, CrossFit has brought the snatch and the clean and jerk to masses of people that would not have otherwise even given a shit. I am a case study in this. If it weren't for CrossFit, I would not have become obsessed with weightlifting. You would not be watching this video right now because this video wouldn't exist. So I agree wholeheartedly. Oh boy, this one's from my boy Ramsey Kachacha. I have known him for a long, long time. We met in Houston in 2015 at the World Championships, and we've stayed friends ever since. I've visited him in the UK. I want to visit him again, but this take is we're starting to get spicy here. The rise in Western females winning medals is because female lifting is a worse standard than men, and I agree. You could bring up people that have been in the sport not that long of a time. Like if you look at the world champions and the Olympic champions in weightlifting on the men's side, it's very, very likely that they started before the age of 16. I would say starting, and guys, do not take this for your own journey, okay? We're talking about Olympic and world champions. By the way, I believe there have been some world champions or medalists or something that have started later on the men's side, maybe. But on the women's side, that's what we saw. We see it with Emily Campbell. I think she started at 23 or something like that. She started just a few years ago, and now she has an Olympic medal. So, yeah, I think, look, it's not as developed as a sport on the women's side simply because of a longevity thing. Women's weightlifting was just started in the IWF at some point. I can't think of when, but then I believe it was the Athens Olympics where women's weightlifting, it was the first time that women's weightlifting had existed. So it's only been around, a short amount of time relative to men's weightlifting. But also, I see the natural women's weightlifter. As of right now, they're succeeding a lot more. And this is, again, a hot take, so you can take it with a grain of salt. But I see a natural female weightlifter succeeding a lot more than a male natural weightlifter. And I mean the potential to medal in a competitive weight class. I think it's still decent as long as the athlete is a freak of nature and a hell of a lifter. They can and they have medaled. Now, on the men's side, I'm almost, it's a very, very minute chance, if not a 0% chance of medaling with a competitive class if you're not using exogenous hormones. Okay, it just keeps getting spicier here. This is from Dozer Weightlifting. Dozer Weightlifting is Dylan Cooper. One of my dearest friends in weightlifting. We were roommates back in College Station. We've made a bunch of content together. Dozer Weightlifting is Dylan's coaching. If you guys want coaching, you should definitely check that out. So go to Instagram, follow Dozer Weightlifting, and DM him. He has great coaching and programming options for you. Now, this take is going to be a scary one to talk about, but Ukraine leveraged the invasion, knew they wouldn't get tested, sent lifters in with hot piss. Now, he's talking about the 2 Ukrainian lifters that were featured on Hook Grip or maybe All Things Gym. One of them is the heavyweight. I forget his name, but he snatched 195 kilos. And that is something that I actually talked about in the last video about Klokov being popped, and then a lifter who's 20 years old snatching Klokov-ish weights, right? In competition at 20 years old, snatching 195 kilos. The likelihood of that lifter not being absolutely juiced to the gills and getting away with it, at least for now, is very low. Okay, so there was also one other weightlifter who had a pretty amazing save during that competition, who also looked a little bit suspect with the numbers that he was putting up. This is in the Junior World Championships. Now, leveraged the invasion. I don't know if I could agree with that. That is a seriously hot take, which would be very, very difficult to prove. And as of now, it's completely unfounded. But I appreciate the spiciness. This is what we need. We need more edge out of you guys. Okay, back to Trevor Kim. Now, this one I really liked because I have a specific example of this. Again, I talked about this in the previous video about Klokov being busted retroactively. Trevor says the only reason Romania is in trouble is because they wouldn't pay the bribe. Now, that actually is very interesting. Gabriel Sincrayan was popped at the Rio Olympics, and the first, second, and fourth place finishers got away scot-free. And I talked about this because Ayan had shook the hands of the first, second, and fourth place finisher, and he completely ignored Gabriel, never talked to him, and within 24 or 48 hours, Gabriel was notified that he had pissed positive. But, apparently everyone else in the building was clean. And I think this is likely because Romania may or, probably didn't pay off Ayan at the time. So this is kind of in line with that. And they're still dealing with the issues that they've faced from so many athletes being sanctioned. And finally, the last take. The press out rule is good because press outs are ugly. I disagree. Look,
listen here.
I agree that press outs are ugly, for sure. I could make a compilation of hundreds, maybe even thousands of lifts that have not been passed by judges that don't look ugly because of a quote-unquote press out. Okay, at the very top of this sport, when we watch this sport, the pressing action of the elbow, the little flutter of the elbow, it provides no advantage and it doesn't look ugly. If there was some way to say, okay, it has to be a blatant press, then maybe that could work. But again, you want your rules to be finite. But I really am just tired of seeing fantastic lifts be overturned because of an aesthetic that isn't even that bad, like not even remotely that bad. I've made a video about this called Kick Out the Press Out, and I am very staunch about the idea of getting rid of the press. And if anyone's worried about this aesthetics thing, it's likely not going to happen. If you look at some of Lasha's world record clean and jerks, in fact, his most recent world record clean and jerk, it had a 2 reds, and then the jury ended up overturning it. Why? Because there was a little flutter in his elbows holding near 600 pounds overhead. Is that really ugly? Is that something that we need to pursue as this weird arbitrary? It's just so odd to me. Okay, so I see where he's coming from, but again, I'm going to have to disagree. Anyways, those are my hot takes. I really, really enjoyed making this video. I hope you did too. I think I'm going to revisit it, but we can do it about strength. We can do it about powerlifting, fitness in general. But please, guys, follow me on Instagram. For God's sakes, you'll miss out on opportunities to drop your hot takes that I might talk about on this channel. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.